I'll pay you 100 francs if you let us spend the night here.
In the moonlight, the man recognized Jean Valjean. Mr. Mayor, what are you doing here?
Who are you?
I'm Fauchelevent. You saved my life from under my wagon. Remember?
How lucky I am to meet you here.
Fauchelevent was the gardener at the convent. The nuns hired Jean Valjean as the gardener's helper. They lived peacefully for 5 years in the convent. It seemed that Javert had given up looking for Jean Valjean. The nuns taught Cosette how to read and write in the convent school. She was as happy as a lark among the nuns. In 5 years, Cosette had grown up to be a beautiful girl, and Jean Valjean had changed into a good-looking, silver-haired gentleman in his 50s. When Cosette finished the convent school, Jean Valjean bought a house near the Luxembourg Park, and they moved into it. Every day, Jean Valjean took Cosette for a walk in the park. They always walked along the same path and sat on the same bench. One day, a handsome young man passed by them sitting on the bench. He seemed to be attracted to Cosette. From then on, the young man showed up every time Cosette and Jean Valjean sauntered in the park. Jean Valjean noticed that the young ones exchanged glances. They seemed to be attracted to each other. Jean Valjean was more sad than glad. He knew he would lose Cosette someday, but he hated the idea of losing her so soon. Jean Valjean stopped walking with Cosette in the park, and they moved to a different house. The young man, a law student by the name of Marius, kept on looking for Cosette. Marius lived in a cheap apartment in a poor section of the city. The room next door was occupied by an impoverished family who seemed to live mainly on charity. One day, Marius peeked through a crack in the wall.
They really look like poor folks. I wish I could help them.
The man of the house was writing letters to benevolent people, begging for their charity.
The rich man to whom I gave your letter is coming, Dad.
Put out the fire, break a window pane, look as miserable as possible. Presently, an elderly gentleman accompanied by a young lady entered the room. They were Jean Valjean and Cosette. In the next room, Marius couldn't believe his eyes.
It's the girl I've been searching for.
I've brought some new clothes and blankets for you.
Thank you very much, but what we really need is money. If we don't pay 60 francs for rent tomorrow, we'll be driven out into the street.
I have only 5 francs on me. I'll come back at 6 o'clock with 60 francs.
After they were gone, the man of the house put on a scheming face. Didn't you recognize him? 8 years ago, he took that girl from us for only 1,500 francs.
You mean she is Cosette? Are you sure?
I am positive. They didn't recognize us.
He seems to be loaded. Let's squeeze more money out of him.
That's exactly what I'm going to do when he returns at 6.
My God, they are going to extort money from Cosette's father.
Marius went out to report it to the police.
I must do something to protect Cosette's father.
At the police station, he talked to a police officer. As luck would have it, the officer was Inspector Javert, who had been transferred to Paris from Montreal. After listening to what Marius had to say, Javert gave him a pistol. I'll be waiting outside. If that man commits any crime, fire that gun as a signal for me to burst in. At 6 o'clock, Jean Valjean returned as he had promised with 60 francs.
Here's your rent.
Thank you very, very much, sir. God bless you. At that moment, a stranger walked into the room. Jean Valjean turned in surprise. He is one of our neighbors. Don't pay attention to him, sir. 3 more thugs came in. One of them was holding a knife in his hand. Jean Valjean sensed danger.
What's going on here?
Don't you recognize me, Mr. Millionaire? I am Thénardier. You took Cosette from us for only 1,500 francs. Remember? I did you a big favor 8 years ago. Now it's your turn. Thénardier showed Jean Valjean a dusty painting. It was a picture of a soldier carrying a wounded officer on his back. It had been used as Thénardier's tavern sign. I saved the life of Colonel Pontmercy at Waterloo. A good artist did this painting for me. I want you to buy it for 200,000 francs.
I don't have that kind of money.
The mention of the names of Pontmercy and Thénardier stunned Marius, who was waiting for the moment to fire his pistol as a signal for the police to dash into the house. He remembered his late father, Colonel Pontmercy, telling him how a Sergeant Thénardier had saved his life during the fierce battle of Waterloo.
Oh, my God! How could that rascal have been my father's lifesaver?
Marius couldn't fire the gun. He was torn between his father's lifesaver and the man he thought was the father of the girl he loved.
To pull or not to pull the trigger, that is the question.
Knowing that Jean Valjean couldn't have that much money with him, Thénardier forced him to write a letter to Cosette telling her to give 200,000 francs to the bearer of his letter.
All right, I'll do whatever you say.
About an hour later, Mrs. Thénardier came back empty-handed.
He fooled us. It was a fake address.
Mad as hell, Thénardier ordered his men to tie Jean Valjean up. How dare you! I'm gonna kill you! Suddenly, Jean Valjean tore the rope with his enormous physical strength.
You'll pay for this, you ingrate! You bit the hand that fed you!
Meanwhile, Inspector Javert couldn't wait any longer outside. He kicked the door open and burst in with his men. Eyeing Javert, Jean Valjean jumped out the window. "Stay where you are, all of you!" Javert saw Jean Valjean get away through the window, but didn't know it was him. "I guess I missed the big fish." After Javert arrested Thénardier and his gang, Marius moved to a different apartment and continued to look for Cosette. He was dying to see her again.
I'll find her no matter how long it takes.
Meanwhile, Cosette sat alone in the garden of her house when Jean Valjean was not home. She often thought about the handsome young man with whom she had exchanged glances in the park. One day, toward sunset, she found a letter thrown into her garden. The unsigned letter read in part,
I fell in love with you the moment I first saw you walking in the park.
It was a letter from Marius. Having finished reading the letter, Cosette looked around and found Marius approaching with a smile.
My name is Marius Pontmercy. What's yours?
Cosette.
They embraced and kissed as if they had been lovers for long.
I love you, Cosette.
I love you too, Marius.
The two lovers met every night in her garden. Jean Valjean was unaware of their rendezvous.
These days you look happier than ever before. That makes me happy, too.
Except for Cosette, there was nothing for Jean Valjean to be happy about, though. He noticed that the policeman he passed by in the street looked at him suspiciously. What made him sense more danger was the sight of Thénardier and his gang walking freely in the Paris streets. He thought they might have tipped the police off about him and Cosette. He decided to move again, this time to a foreign country.
We're going to England. Start packing, Cosette.